Okay, the topic now that we are going to start is accounting error, page 85. Okay, page 85. There are two types of error which I mentioned to you last time. Okay, the first one is the error that affect the trial balance, and the second one is the error that not affecting trial balance. This is page 86 and page 87. Okay? I hope by this time you have gone through these types, various types of error. Okay? So remember, that means this error, one type of error can be detected by the trial balance. And that is page 86. So what does it mean? It means that if you prepare the trial balance, the bottom figure, the total figure there for both debit and credit side will not be equal. Yeah? One figure is different from the other figure. Whereas if let's say the accounting records have been properly recorded, stated, yeah, the amounts are properly stated, then the trial balance figure total should balance. Yeah, the total figure for the trial balance should balance for the debit and the credit. So if these are not the same, it means there might be one or more error that can occur, and this can be due to omission of part of an entry, error of transposition, error in addition, error in the trial balance, as well as posting to an incorrect side of an account. That is posting to an incorrect side of account. It means that to one account it's correct, the second account it has uh, been to the incorrect side. For example, like we have let's say the two accounts are the cash account and the purchase account. Yeah. So the cash account has been correctly credited, but the purchase is also credited, meaning that the two accounts have been stated on the same side twice. In other words, yeah, same side twice. That is for number 5. Yeah. Error of omission of part of an entry is where only one account is either debited or credited, and the second account has been completely ignored. It may be because forgot to record, or maybe because the bookkeeper did not know that it has to record to the other account. Okay, the other main type of error is error that not affecting trial balance. We said just now that for a trial balance, where we have the total figure at the bottom of the trial balance is equal, yeah, the debit total is equal to the credit total, then there would be no error. However, in some cases, error can still be made, yeah, because the error is actually like compensating one another. So generally compensating it means that the error has been made, but it like compensating. Yeah. Uh, However, it doesn't mean that the figures, would be the figures that have been the wrong figures that have been entered wrongly doesn't mean that um, these figures are really entered. It could be that it has been omitted completely. So when omitted, it means that there is no debit entry and there is no credit entry. So when there is no debit or credit entry, that means, of course, the trial balance would be balanced here. And then after that, we have the error of principle. Error of principle, it means that the let's say the um, the transaction relates to the repair to the motor vehicle, repair to motor vehicle, and the repair is so much because let's say the motor vehicle need to be fixed. Yeah, but the cost incurred maybe let's say 16,000 ringgit, for that particular motor vehicle. Maybe that motor vehicles need to be overhauled, or maybe that motor vehicles made with accident. Yeah, and the company would like to keep that motor vehicle, yeah, because maybe it's cheaper to repair as compared to buy a new motor vehicle. So it costs 16,000. So, well, maybe an ignorant bookkeeper feel that 16,000, maybe the company is actually buying an old motor vehicle. It's not the cost of repairing, but buying an old motor vehicle. So what she did was that maybe she had debited motor vehicle account. Motor vehicle account is an asset. Yeah? But the transaction just now is not about buying motor vehicle. It's about repairing. And when we say about repairing, this is an expense. So when it is an expense, it is actually related to revenue. Expense, remember five classification. One of the classification is expense, and another classification is asset. So that means this is wrong classification. Wrong classification, wrong in principle actually. The bookkeeper should actually debit to the repair expense account, but she had debited the asset account. So this is completely wrong. This is what I say, the error of principle. Error of principle. So you can see here that the bookkeeper has therefore made error of principle. The error of commission actually is similar to error of principle, but here the bookkeeper has actually entered the transaction to the debit or the credit side to the right class of the account. Right class, right classification. Yeah, how many classification? 5 classification. So here, uh, what happened is that he or she has actually uh, entered into the wrong account but within the same class. For example, uh, debtor account, account receivable. Yeah, account receivable. We have one account receivable by the name of, let's say, Rashid. Yeah, Rashid. One debtor is by the name of Rashid. Another debtor's name is Rashida. Yeah, Rashida and Rashid. Yeah. So here, the bookkeeper should have actually assume the bookkeeper should record into account Rashid. But mistakenly, the bookkeeper entered into Rashida's account. So these both Rashida and Rashid's account, they are debtors of the company. So right class, but to wrong account. So that is what meant by error of commission. Please make a distinction between error of principle and error of commission. Yeah. So there is a difference there. Error of reversal entry For example, like the cash account and the repair account just now. Yeah. So cash account, let's say, need to be credited, and the repair account should be debited. Yeah. And the bookkeeper has actually make a mistake where maybe she or he is so tired. Yeah. He or she is so tired and she had actually swapped that over. So to the cash account, let's say, which is supposed to be credited, she has debited the cash account. And to the repair expense account, she should have debited, but now she had credited. So it's one account opposite entry, wrongly to opposite entry, and the equivalent account related to the transaction, and another account which is related to the same transaction had also been recorded in the opposite entry. So that is what meant by the error of reversal. Compensating error, you can see that just now when this error has been incurred, there are like compensating, right? But doesn't really mean compensating. What I mean is that it balance out the debit side, balance out with the credit side. Uh, But what is actually exactly mean by compensating error? For example, like there is a mistake on the debit side, which the bookkeeper had wrongly recorded, right account everything, but the amount is wrong. The amount, let's say, to the account receivable item, which is supposed to be on the debit side of the trial balance, had been actually overstated by, let's say, 90 ringgit. 90 ringgit. And the credit of the trial balance had also been mistakenly written. Yeah. Where to one account, maybe to the liability or loan account has been overstated to by 50 ringgit. Now the debit side is overstated by 90 ringgit, but the credit side to the loan account has been overstated by 50 ringgit. So 90, 50 not yet compensating lah. But let's say in one of the debit total of the trial balance, there is another account that had been understated by 50 ringgit. By 40 ringgit. By 40 ringgit. Let's assume this is related to prepayment. Yeah, the prepayment had been understated by 40 ringgit. So we said just now that the debit side, one item, account receivable, is overstated by 90 and the other item understated by 40. So the end result would be how much? Overstated by 50, right? And we know just now that on the credit side, that there is an overstatement to the liability to loan just now by 50. So this side 50 increase, this side 50. So that means it balance. Yeah. So this is actually the trial balance. And the question that you might get for this is that they will give you a simple, short case, and they will require you to identify. They require you to identify the type of error and to identify the error and to recognize the error is actually what kind of error, what type of error. Yeah. And also, the company has to do the correction for the error. Yeah, has to do the correction for error. So, you therefore need to know you have to do the correction. Yeah? Now the correction can be, by just simply cancel. Okay, let's say you have stated wrong figure. The you are the bookkeeper. Assuming that you are bookkeeper, you have made mistake. Let's say to the account receivable, the debit item had been overstated uh, by let's say 20 ringgit. You overstated by 20 ringgit. Let's say it is 500. Let's say the correct amount is 500, but you had recorded 520. So that means 20 ringgit had been overstated. So what they have to do is just cross that out, write 500 and then put initial. Okay, put initial. So that's how we do correction. So it's very simple. You just do the correction by slashing out and just write the correct figure. So let's look at example, yeah, on page 89. Yeah, page 89. Yeah. Can you see number 2 there? Number 2, page 89, error of transposition. So you have the sales account, it should be 340. Yeah, 340. But the bookkeeper had recorded 430. So there is a mistake there. Yeah, mistake. Now this type of error, can you see that all the digits are the same, right? 4300, the rest zero. And then the other one is 3400. So this is an example of the error of transposition. Yeah. So what do you do? Can you see? Just slash that out, then write the correct figure 340,000. And then SAS. SAS is actually initial lah, right? Initial. Initial maybe, if you are the bookkeeper that do the correction, you initial that. If somebody else, they initial that, yeah? So if me, I made the mistake, I just write, okay, SITI. Okay, my initial is SITI, yeah? Right. So, and the balance also has to be corrected. Yeah. Okay. What about number 1 there? Number 1, same page 89, but carried from page 88. Now this is omission of part of entry. Remember, uh, the trial balance, the accounts only recorded once. Yeah, only recorded once, but not to another account. So in this example, it has not been recorded in the cash account. Yeah, in the cash account. To the other account, it has been recorded, but in the cash account has not been recorded. So you need to do correction to the cash account. So what correction that you're going to make here? Okay, this is example to sales commission. So you just open up the cash account, if there is no cash account yet. But if there is already cash account in your ledger, you just turn to the page that has the cash account. Then you just add at the bottom, okay, after the last sentence, you are going to write sales commission, and the entry should be credited. So you enter onto the credit side 200. And then at the balance, you have to calculate the new balance. In this case, there is no brought forward balance. So 200 becomes the new balance. And the new balance in bracket, what does that indicate? It is a credit entry, a credit balance. So in bracket, it means that it's a credit balance. Yeah. So if there are balance brought forward, so what do you do with this 200? You have to minus lah, minus from the previous figure. So the new figure now would be after deducting the 200. Yeah. Okay, right. So this is one example, and then you can see more lah. Number 3, error of addition. Yeah. So you can see that the error of addition, the last row there, added to 14,400, which is actually, if you calculate, is wrong. So you need to slash that out, write the new correct figure, and then you initial that. Yeah, SAS is the initial. Right. So again, on page 90, you can see the correction there. And then you have page number 5. Uh, just do the correction. Yeah. And this is actually related to errors where you can see that there is this error does not affect the trial balance. Yeah. So you just simply slash that out and do the initial. But for the error that not affecting the trial balance, then here that means the total figure, the debit figure, and the credit total figure are both the same. Yeah. So that means you cannot detect. So what you have to do is you need to do the correction by doing that by applying the double entry principle. You need to apply the double entry principle. So you can see the illustration here. You can see the illustration. Yeah. So the illustration how to do the correction. Okay. Right. First of all, you need to how to do the correction. You need to understand what the mistakes were. What the mistake were. So when you do the correction with this regard, you have to reverse that. You have to reverse that. Yeah. All right. So for instance, error of original entry, yeah, which has been unintentionally stated as 100 as 10,000 instead of 100,000. Yeah. So, okay, so remember you have to identify the mistake. Okay? The accounts are all correct. Yeah? So, what would be the account? A sale invoice. Yeah? Sale invoice. Sale invoice, it means selling on credit. So, the bookkeeper here had recorded account receivable 10,000 and sale credit 10,000. Account receivable debit 10,000. The sales account credit 10,000. So is that 10,000 correct? No, it's not correct because it should be 100,000. But are the account receivable, the account name, is it correct? The account name, account receivable, and is it the sales correct? Yes, because this transaction related to account receivable and sales. So there is no issue about the items and the account. But the figure is wrong because the figure originally, you imagine, the account receivable debit 10,000. Sales credit 90,000. Sorry, 10,000 also. So this is very much understated. So what do you need to do? You need to add more than 90,000. So to add more, that means you are going to add 90 to account receivable. So that's why debit. And you are going to add 90 to the sales figure. So 90 credit. So that's how you do the correction. Remember the double entry. So this correction is in the journal. But then remember journal, it has to be brought to the ledger. So if you are required to show the ledger, so you just simply do like this lah. Yeah. Sales, debit 90,000, balance 90,000 added to the previous balance. For sales account, for sales account, you have the account receivable there, and then you show credit 90,000 and the balance, you have to consider that 90,000. So whatever it is, remember, you have to think of the mistake first. You have to visualize the mistake. Example, the question in the past asked about the correction, ask the student to make the correction. So the students need to imagine the mistake made. So how this can help you? What you have to do is just scribble on the question paper, okay, or scribble somewhere on the paper and imagine and write down the original mistake. Yeah, the original mistake. So write down the mistake, and then after that, based on that mistake, now you're going to make the correction. So if you go back to number one here, you don't write 100,000. You cannot write 100,000. You cannot write for both account receivable 100,000 and sales account 100,000. Because why? Because the 10,000 had been included in the book. So you cannot write 100,000. You need to write only the difference there, the 90,000. Yeah. So you can only visualize if you had actually considered the mistake made. If you did not consider the mistake, then the issue would be most of you may unintentionally stated the figure to be 100,000 for both account receivable 100,000, sales account 100,000. Okay, for the rest of the correction, for the rest of the correction, I want you to study them very carefully and in detail. Yeah. So go through one by one. Do not skip, because if you skip, you cannot understand. And pause here. Stop for a while to try to think. Yeah. What the mistakes are and how you are going to do the correction. So that's for the uh, errors. Yeah, make understanding the errors and making the correction to the errors.